Hey and welcome to Game Talk. I'm your host, Ammon Beyond. Today I'm joined by Connor.
Hey guys.
And Mike.
Hello.
And today is the day we talk about Elden Ring. So this game came out, like a week and a half ago now at this point? And
a little more than that for me, because it was out on Thursday.
Because you have the PC version. I got it on PlayStation 5, which...
I will tell you, getting it on PC version, it was not worth the couple hours of extra gameplay I got. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, continuing FromSoftware's tradition of creating masterpiece games that are just like terribly optimized.
That's not even fair. Dark Souls 2, I don't know if the original was bad, but Scholars of the First Sin ran fine, and Dark Souls 3 ran fine.
Right.
It's really just Dark Souls and Elden Ring, as far as I know.
But before we get into, our deeper thoughts, I just kind of wanted to gauge where we're all at. So I have put roughly 83 hours into this game, and I don't even think I'm close to finishing yet, judging by my conversations with Connor. Connor, where are you at?
I am at 84 and a half hours, and I am close to finishing it. And weirdly, I don't think I skipped much, so I don't know where, I definitely did skip some stuff, because I've, wandered around. I think the reason it went faster for me is because I did play the story kind of quick.
Yeah,
and then, got really strong, and then I went back and,
I would be interested, Connor, I would be very interested for us to compare our maps, because I feel like they would be different.
Once I've beaten it, yeah.
Yeah.
And once you've beaten it, because I don't want to spoil it for you either.
Yeah, but, I just killed... I don't want to. I'm not going to.
Boss names is that big of a deal.
So I just killed. Right. I think I agree with you. So I just killed Morgott, which is like the third major boss.
The third? What? No.
Well, I'm talking demigods, but so technically
he's the fourth.
All right. So let's go through this. So Godric, the Grafted, right?
Yeah.
And then Radahn, and then Morgott.
You did not explore. You have not fought Renala the Moon Queen. I see.
Oh, I totally have. Yeah, I forgot about her completely.
Also a demigod. Yeah.
No, hers is weird though, because she didn't she gave you a rune, but you can't act. It doesn't matter. All right, we're getting too far in the weeds.
Well, you can't activate Godfrey's either. You have to do stuff to it.
Well, yeah, you have to go to the tower, right?
Yeah, hers is the same. You have to do.
Yeah, I went to the tower and there was no activating it. There was just an item there.
Different tower.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, no, I went to a different tower, and even in that tower, her tower, there was no activating it.
I've activated it, so...
Weird.
I'm 99% sure. I'm not going to open the game right now, but I'm pretty sure I can use all of my runes.
Yeah, I definitely can't use hers.
Yeah, so...
But
they give you a hint about where to go in the item.
No, don't get me wrong. I went there. I promise I went there. It was a whole lengthy quest line to get there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, yeah.
But that's just to say another thing about this game. No two people are going to play this game the same way. This game is so disgustingly vast, and it has so many winding paths through it. It's just
every step of the way I've been how did this game get made? Yeah, and it almost almost spoiled itself for me, because it is, in my opinion, far more broad at the beginning than at the end. But even at the end, I took a day or something off. I had to do some other stuff, and I picked it back up. And even at the end, it is ridiculously broad. It just it never is quite the way Limgrave is, where you could go anywhere.
Limgrave has that effect that that's your first exposure to that world, and it just sort of drops you in, and you can head off in any direction and find interesting things to do there. And then even if you head in that same direction again, you will discover things you will 100% discover things you missed the first time. Just because I feel like every nook and cranny of this world is just packed with secrets.
It has some serious Zelda 1 energy. Because I am not... story stuff I don't want spoiled and stuff, but I've been on Discord with some buddies and stuff playing the game. And we'll be like, oh, have you seen this dungeon yet? And he'll be like, give me a rough idea of where it is on the map. And I'll be like, oh, no, I didn't know there was anything there. And I'll go and I'll do it. And I'm like,
right,
awesome.
Yeah. No, similar things. Sometimes I play, I just talk to my friends on PlayStation while they're playing. And, they mention where they are. I'm like, yep, never been there before. And I've, thoroughly explored that area. And that's happened so many times. It's just, it's wild. It's...
And there's so much going on.
It really is...
This game also, the lore feels like it has the same sort of depth as Dark Souls.
It does.
It has it's so much more accessible, I think, and that is a running theme in this game.
I agree, yeah. And it just
the combat is also has all the depth of a Dark Souls game and the difficulty, but is because of many design.
It really is like
far more accessible.
It's crazy to me that this game exists, right? Because like this game very much is the culmination of Miyazaki's efforts so far, with FromSoftware's efforts so far. But not only is it the culmination, it's the evolution, right? Like it's everything leads to Elden Ring, and then Elden Ring just brings it to the next level. And
I cannot imagine them topping Elden Ring.
And there's no going back, right? Like Elden Ring, like you said at the end of last episode, Connor, like it very much is there was a before Elden Ring and now there's an after Elden Ring.
Yeah, this very much like Breath of the Wild, this is going to be, and much like Dark Souls before it, like, we spent 10 years comparing games to Dark Souls, and now we're going to spend the next 10 years comparing games to Elden Ring.
I totally agree. Yeah, like, I mean, if it isn't already clear, like, I'm over the moon with this game. Like, I expected this game to be very, very good. Great, even, right? But the first hint that I got that, no, this was going to shatter all of my expectations was when I woke up and saw that it had a 97 on Metacritic. And then 97 held. It did not drop. I don't think this game got a single score below a 9 out of 10.
I 100% agree with it. Like, this game, despite some egregious technical difficulties and stuff, and like I have complaints about the game, I give it a 10 out of 10 recommendation. Like, I can't think of any. I mean, obviously, look into it before you play it. It's still a FromSoft game.
It is still very much a FromSoftware game. But like one interesting effect I've seen with Elden Ring is that it seems to have gone viral, man. Like everyone is playing this game. There are memes about this game everywhere. People who don't really play video games know about this game. Like my friend Nick texted me and he just knows all of these Elden Ring memes. I was like, how do you even know what Elden Ring is? And he's like, that's all I see on social media.
Just play Animal Crossing and Mario on their Switch, but like they're like, yeah, I was looking at Elden Ring, it kind of reminds me of Breath of the Wild, I'm thinking about picking it up, and I was like, I'm not going to tell you not to, that's not what's happening, but like,
it's crazy
look into
that,
it a little first, maybe.
It's weird that like, it's like, it's one of those really special moments in gaming, right, where like all the stars seemingly are aligned, right? Not only did it get insane critical reception, it penetrated the mainstream. Yeah, which is just wild.
Like, I've seen so many TikToks about Elden Ring, and they're all killing me. And all of them, like, I do love that the mainstream is all about Margit, one of the very first bosses you run into, because so many people get walled there.
Oh, yeah. No, I saw a meme on Twitter of, like, some guy finding a used copy of Elden Ring at a GameStop, and with the caption, like, this guy definitely ran into the tree sentinel and, like, gave up or whatever.
Yeah.
But, which, by the way, that's such a brilliant, like, as soon as you step out of the tutorial, like, the first enemy you see is a boss you almost certainly will not be able to kill right out of the gate.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You could
if you killed it. I just
you could if you're a masochist, right? But like, you're very much
streamers did. Like,
it's
I think
very
it took
much
critical, like 19 tries or something.
Yeah, but it's very much intentional for you to try to fight that thing, get massacred, and be like, okay, let's head in a different direction. That's the game trying to teach you that, like, this is the kind of game where you can just go wherever you want, and if you run into a roadblock,
it's also very consumer friendly, in my opinion, because like you got that 2-hour window to return a game on Steam, you're gonna run into the tree sentinel in that 2-hour window, and if the tree sentinel tells you that you don't like this game, it's not going to get any better. Like,
I do love, like, before this game came out, there was all this talk of like, okay, this is going to be a mainstream Dark Souls, and what does that mean for the hardcore FromSoftware fans and all this stuff? It is 100% pure blood FromSoftware experience. Like, this is a hard game. This is not a watered down experience. If anything, it's like even more concentrated because it takes all of FromSoftware's core design philosophies, like intricate level design, really tough bosses, really great lore, and just dials it all up to 11, fits it into an open world, and makes it work like extremely well.
Yeah, but it does give you an option to make the game a little easier, which is like traditionally in Dark Souls games, like you can't get your build going right off the bat. You've got to kind of work through to get your items and everything.
Yeah,
with some like caveats, like you can rush to the end game area, maybe in Dark Souls 1, for example, rush to the tomb or whatever, and get some stuff. But in Elden Ring, like, No, you can just, like, if you do not feel well equipped for what you're doing, you can go do something else. Like, you can play this game for 40 hours before you fight Margit and not grind.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
I see people all the time. This is actually making me kind of mad because it's, like, doing really well on Reddit. People are, like, posting, like, oh, great grinding spot. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell somebody they're playing the game wrong, but I genuinely do not understand why anyone would grind in this game.
But I think that's the beautiful part about this game is that it somehow caters to every single conceivable playstyle you'd want. You know, like if you do want to just grind out the game, you can do that. Like if you want to really challenge yourself, like what I did with when I fought Radahn, you can do that. Like it's flexible enough to cater to all these different playstyles.
Did you ever try summoning against Radahn?
No.
It does not help very much. It's more of a spectacle thing.
Yeah, I didn't.
They die almost immediately.
It was just it was a moment where I had to prove to myself that I was a gamer, or whatever.
No, the Radahn fight. Most people had to do the Radahn fight mostly without summons, I think, because they don't survive very long.
I guess just honing in on the Radahn fight. So Radahn is the name of a boss, if it's not obvious. But like this was the first boss in the game that made me think, this is 100% still a From Software. I mean, like, obviously I knew beforehand, but I was just like, none of the bosses up to that point was like a wall. Radahn is very much a wall.
The first time I had to, like, sit back and rethink my... Like, I had not... So left bumper is the button in this game you use to block.
Yeah.
I had not pressed it before Radahn, and I... Like, that was the change I had to make, was, like, I'd been doing a two-handed sword build, and I had been dodging every single attack up until this point. And against Radahn, I realized, like,
his timings are nuts.
Yeah, like, I was not going to dodge every attack. Some of the attacks were just too long for me to dodge roll through. So I had to block, and, like, you know, when you're blocking with a two-handed sword, you still take some damage. But, like, I just had to learn that I was going to have to eat some damage. I was not going to beat this fight the way I was playing it. And once I like made that transition, I was like, all right. You know, once you're using all the mechanics available to you,
I mean,
fights are possible.
I mean, that's an interesting point, right? Like, because even like in these difficult fights, there are different approaches, right? So I never actually took the blocking approach. My goal ended up being like, okay, I need to rush him down as soon as possible because my sword inflicts blood loss and staggers
doing
him.
Way more damage than me. I saw the video.
And staggers him, right? So I was just like, it had to be a combination of skill and luck, right? Like, if he started doing his crazy attacks that were like nigh undodgeable, then my chances go down a lot. But it was a combination of a run where like that didn't happen, and I did manage blood loss and stagger that I was able to get him, rush him down very quickly. But like, I don't know, like that's what I love about From Software games though. Like, I didn't have to play it that way, but I chose to because it was available to me. Like, the Radahn fight, I say the summons don't help very much. The summons didn't help me a whole lot because I'm a melee build, so I had to be up in there anyway. Right.
If you were a magic build, like, I imagine the Radahn fight might not be that bad. Like, because you could stand at a distance and hit him with that big blue beam or whatever, and probably work him pretty hard.
But yeah, like, up to that point, like, Margit, the Fell Omen, and then, like, Godric the Grafted, which was a metal fight, by the way. Like,
oh yeah, dude, did you know if you kill him fast enough, he doesn't do the phase 2?
Really, I didn't know that.
That's true of several bosses. Renala the Moon Queen also.
Yeah, and then there was Renala, and she was like the mage fight, which was kind of neat, right? But like I always like after that boss, I was just like, okay, the bosses in this game are a little on the easy side. But then you fight Radahn, and then it's just like, oh no, this is Radahn is up there with the From Software boss classics. Like, it was like Demon of Hatred from Sekiro on steroids, which I know you haven't played Sekiro, but like that boss fight made me want to pull my teeth and hair out. Like, oh my god.
Yeah. No, the game gets very hard, but like, I don't know.
But that's not the appeal of this game, right? Like, I've been asked by many people who don't play these kinds of games, like, what is it about this game? Like, why is everyone playing it? And I always go back to, like, there are a lot of points, but I always go back to the sense of discovery. That is unmatched. This game does, like, discovery and exploration better than any video game I've ever played in my life. Like, and
it's up there. It's up there. So it's like in the same caliber
as Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild. It's probably better than Breath of the Wild in my opinion. I was going to compare it to Outer Wilds for its like discovery.
And, I don't. So that's something you have experience with, but not.
Outer Wilds is more dense, I would say, but God, Elden Ring just keeps going, man.
Right,
and,
like that's the crazy thing.
Outer Wilds is probably the last game I felt this way about, and I only played Outer Wilds for 20 hours.
But that makes it even more impressive, right? Elden Ring is. It can't be overstated how vast this game is. If you think you've seen everything, you haven't. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's dense. It's vast and dense simultaneously in a way that it's so difficult for an open world game to do.
So I want to talk about the open world design because I want to like compare this to some of the open worlds I whine about on the show.
Sure.
Because like I really do think what it is that this is the first AAA game that has learned literally anything from Breath of the Wild, with maybe the exception of Forbidden West because I haven't looked at it. But the lesson is that if you are putting map markers down, your open world is not going to be as good as someone who's not, like 9 times out of 10. Like Elden Ring, I have seen a map marker 3 times now, and I've done just like a couple dozen quests.
Just like the red ones. And
and that's like they're not even telling you what's there. Yeah. You know? If your map marker spamming me, your open world is just a bad menu now.
See, like, I do agree with that, but there is a lot of pushback on that point, and which baffles me, right? Like, I don't get it, but there is a very vocal, and maybe Mike is in this camp. I will ask Mike's opinion here in a second. But, like, there were instances on Twitter of, like, Ubisoft devs and even devs for Horizon.
Ubisoft doesn't make good games. So.
Well, yeah. But, like, poking fun at Elden Ring's map design and UX design, saying, like, it was just like, you know, like it's so unintuitive, and I'm just like, but
the absolute lack, like the inability for me to like see dialogue that I have heard again. I would be fine if there was like a way, like a dialogue log that I could look at or something. I think would be an improvement because you can.
The dialogue log would be good, yes.
Yeah, but the lack of a quest log, like putting a map.
I do not need a quest log at all. I love the fact that like. You could go through this game, if you don't talk to anyone, you won't have any quests, right? And even when you have a quest, you don't know you have a quest, right? You just sort of talk to an NPC, they say some cryptic stuff, and then you just sort of have
as much as hints about how to get
exactly
content.
Yeah. And like it really asks you to like, it demands you to be curious, right? Like it really, that's the biggest thing it asks of you. Be curious, and if you're curious, you're going to be rewarded.
And these quests are not as hard to follow as Dark Souls quests.
They're not.
I have not had. I think on one of them I had to look up a guide, and that was because I actually, you know what? I'll give it to him. There was like a thing where you had to like do something at a specific site of grace, and like I missed that, and there was no like if you missed it the first time, there was never any indicator to go back, and that annoyed me pretty bad.
Yeah.
But other than that, like these quests have been very intuitive for me to follow.
A lot more intuitive than Dark Souls for sure. But like I do,
if I was not binging this game, I'm not sure if that would still be the case. But this game is.
But
I can't imagine not.
Okay, so let me make this clear. In a week and a half, I have put 83 hours into this game.
Yeah,
like
I'm an hour and a half higher
while having a full-time job. You know, like this is just.
No, I've done stuff too. You know,
yeah,
I kept up with going to the gym. I kept up with a full-time job.
Same,
I went on 8.
It's just like, it's just. That's what it like. I just every time I'm not
time for Elden Ring.
Every time I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about playing it, and it's
is it time to rain on parades?
1 sec, Mike. But it's so pleasing to me that in 2022, after playing video games for 2 decades plus, a game can still come out and do this to me. That's what makes video games so special to me. Because like you can get jaded or whatever, but every now and then there's this exceptional video game that comes out that just changes the game and shows you that, and shows you
going to be a year we remember,
and shows you that this industry still has a long way to go. Like we have nowhere near peaked yet, and I think Elden Ring is one of those games. Now, Mike has some very opposite thoughts about Elden Ring.
I'm going to hear you out, Mike, but I can't guarantee I'm going to retain my composure the whole time.
First, let me act as a mouthpiece to a good friend of mine who has finished the game.
Sure, just no spoilers, please.
Okay, no spoilers. His main bugbear was with the Radin fight.
Radon,
where it's poorly
designed.
Like about it? Well, he considers it poorly designed. His size, damage, and mobility are ridiculous.
So it's just
this
tough
is a man
fight.
who's played every single Dark Souls game.
I mean,
I give him some salt.
I did not find it even that frustrating. Like it took me a while to beat it, but I 100% disagree. Like the fight was not unbeatable.
But here's a counterpoint, right? Like, if you're finding yourself having those feelings with those fights, with that fight, you could just leave and like level up somewhere, explore a different area.
He did.
You don't even.
He was actually level gated.
What was it?
No, he was 79 when he went into it.
I mean, that sounds
level
like
up past 79.
Well, at that point, everything he was facing also level gated him. So
what do you mean?
He was pretty much getting one shot by just about everything at that point in the game.
Well, then he needed to level up vigor.
There was not a lot left for him to do.
Yeah, the enemy is. I don't know if you know this, Mike, but
before the Radon fight, you can respec your entire build.
So let me just make this.
Messed it up.
Let me just make this clear. The enemies do not scale with you, right? So like, if you go into a certain area, the enemies are just going to be that tough always, right? What does scale with you? If you summon friends into a boss fight, the boss fight becomes stronger and has more HP. I have noticed because I've helped out some of my friends with boss fights,
and they.
Yes.
Yeah, like I will be doing less than half of the amount of
and I was just like
do sometimes. Yeah.
I was just like that, like I don't know if that was similar in Dark Souls, but like it seems way more pronounced here, like almost to the point where like it's co-op is just there to play with friends, but like
the resources to do co-op are almost free. Like I almost don't understand why they cost resources at all.
I think it's just like a kind of a holdover from Dark Souls, but like, yeah.
Well, my only game design argument for that is that like, hey, if you're out of these resources, you've been trying this boss too many times, you should go do something else.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry, Mike. So why don't you continue? Exactly, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm done.
Exactly.
I'm just gonna go walk away.
No, like this game has flaws. Like I don't wanna dunk on Mike's friend too bad, but I do think that like he got mad at Radon because it made him rethink his playstyle. Because it did the same thing to me. And you have to.
See, he did eventually. I watched him beat Radon. I watched him nearly beat Radon. But the margin of error for Radon is absolutely ridiculous, having watched him do it.
It is a tough fight.
Because if you get hit once,
there's no way around
it's over.
You know?
So
like,
so many one-shot
combos.
combos.
Mike. Like,
that's not true.
Never true, because you can't just, like, by the time you've gotten to Radon, you've beaten an enemy that allows you to respec your entire character. If you're getting one shot, you just go add more to vigor.
So let me just clarify here. I was level 58 when I beat Radon. I had like full armor, and I had obviously some points in HP. And most of his attacks, while yes, they did damage me a lot, did not one-shot me. He did have a couple.
One attack that could one-shot me.
Yeah, he had like a couple one-shot attacks, but
I was basically naked. I was not wearing much armor in that fight. I just had high vigor.
Yeah, so it's you have the tools to overcome it, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah. I would push back that it is a super difficult boss, and if you didn't like it, that's fair. But I would push back on the idea that it's bad design, because it's very, very classic FromSoft design, where they ask you to take a step back and look at all of the tools at your disposal.
See, that's a great point, because, like, never once, like, I went insane on Radon, right? Like, I fought him solo, no summons, and all this stuff. And it took me, God, who knows, 100 tries, like, plus to do. Like, it took me over 5 hours to do that. And not once did I get angry. Because, like, it was not an unfair fight. It was not, it was just straight up not an, yeah, exactly. It was not an unfair fight. Unlike, I would argue, the Demon of Hatred, which made me rage into oblivion in Sekiro. Because that fight is a straight up Dark Souls fight in a Sekiro game. And because, like, and those two styles are highly incongruent, I think. So, like, that fight was kind of BS. And that, I could understand some criticism against that, but Radon, I thought, was totally fine.
And this is my primary criticism of Souls-like games, is why would I need to spend 5 hours defeating a boss when I could use that 5 hours for literally anything else that I have to do?
Well, you see, that's exactly why when people say that they want to check out Elden Ring, I'm like, sure, but you should look it up first, because these games are not for it.
And Mike,
5 hours was pure bliss for me. I enjoyed every moment of it.
And Mike, just to clarify, right? Like, I fought Radon in a way that made the fight harder for myself. Like, I didn't have to fight him that way, but I chose to make the fight more difficult because that's what I enjoy. If you don't enjoy that, you could, use the summons in the fight, or you could leave and level up. Like, you don't have to spend 5 hours on Radon. You could, I imagine most people attempt him like a few times and they're like, okay, this is not ready for me yet, and leave, go do something entirely different, because the world is just so vast with so much stuff to do. You can do that, and then maybe come back 10 levels later and try again.
I actually got to the Radon fight very early, and I was like kind of getting a vibe from it, so I got summoned to help somebody else fight him, and realized that I was nowhere near ready for that fight, and
Yeah.
I left for another 20 hours.
Because like even when you finish Radahn's first phase, then I mean like the second phase starts, and that's where he has the most insane attacks.
What's wild to me, I will say, like your friend, you said your friend beat the entire game. I think it's wild that Radahn is the fight that he decided was bogus, because there is one much later in the game that I think is incredibly unfair.
I mean, he also didn't like the final boss, but
well, the final boss is kind of a sandbag. It's really easy. Like
he was also playing a magic build as well.
That should make it easier, I would think.
No, but the way I saw it, what I watched,
unless
every
it has
time he
magic
cast
resistance.
a spell, no, most of the spells don't hit.
I mean,
him
that would
he's so
explain why he was dying in one hit to Radahn if he's a magic build.
I think he was a faith build primarily.
Yeah. Okay, but my point, yeah. So this kind of brings me into like, while we're complaining about it, because I don't want to discount the valid criticisms in the game, I will say the fact that you cannot close the map with the same button you open the map,
that's just bad design.
It's terrible. That's
just terrible
UI design.
User experience design.
Also, like, this is maybe like partial to me because I just bought these very nice headphones I've been using. I was a little like the sound design. It's just okay.
The sound design is basically just Dark Souls. I don't think it's improved.
Yeah, it's just fine. Like it sounds good, but like I was playing it. I was playing it at my desk originally.
The music is excellent though.
The music's good, but like I had no reason to wear my headphones. It was just as good coming out of my soundbar. So. And the other complaint I have is, I mentioned it earlier, but the PC performance in this game is absolutely
that needs
horrendous.
to be discussed.
It's
I think.
unacceptable.
Yeah.
I would honestly, if you were choosing between buying this on an Xbox One and or a PS4 and a PC, I would go the last gen consoles. Like, it is such an insufferable experience. I am against the final boss right now, and I have pretty much resigned myself that I'm not even going to try to fight it until there's a patch.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that the PC version of this game is unquestionably the worst, right?
Yeah,
that's just FromSoftware's special.
What sucks is you say that, but like Dark Souls 2 and 3 were fine, or at least Scholar of the First Sin, and like I think Sekiro was fine, but I don't really know. I really don't know what happened here because the game runs at a locked 60 frames per second for me at 4K. My PC is screaming, it's loud, but like it's doing it until suddenly and it'll be like in a menu, in the hold, even on the start screen. And suddenly the game like just hitches for like almost an entire second. And in a game like this,
the stuttering is not correlated with your graphics capability at all. So like you're just screwed if you're on PC. So
yeah, so there's nothing I can do. And there's all these like witch doctor fixes on Reddit and stuff. I've tried all of them. They don't work. Not for me, at least. Maybe they work for something like, running the game in borderless full screen. I'd lose HDR, which makes me sad, but I tried it and it didn't help. So I put it back in full screen. Running it in high priority, whatever, didn't help. So disabling, updating your drivers, disabling a specific Windows driver. I tried it all. None of it helps.
It is unfortunate. I do have a question, which I'll get back to in a second, but I just want to comment that Digital Foundry did an analysis on the performance of Elden Ring and found that the overall best, most stable way to play the game was the PlayStation 4 version of Elden Ring on PlayStation 5. Because it uses the PlayStation 4 graphical settings on PS5 and it uses that extra overhead for a locked 60 frames per second. Every other version is compromised in some way, including the way I'm playing the game, which is just the native PS5 version. That version fluctuates between 45 and 60 FPS like all the time.
See, I'm pretty anal about frame rates, but this game is so good. I would see past that entirely. Okay. So
that leads to another point I wanted to bring up. There is a pretty vocal contingent online of people saying that how does this game have a 97 if it has performance issues like this?
Yeah, and that's valid. I can't really fight that. My problem is that it is so bad. During the first day, I considered just waiting for a patch. But once I was a couple hours into the game, it was worth it for me to push through. Even the egregious, the most frustrated I've been in the game is when I'm on a good run in a boss fight. It hitches, and by the time I have control back, I'm dead. And that happens a lot.
I know, this is going to sound like a BS reason, but this is totally what I believe. I feel in a lot of cases, that is a very valid point. The performance should impact, it does. If it impacts your enjoyment of the game, then it probably should impact the review score. In this case, the game was just so freaking good, it didn't matter. That's just how I feel.
The performance knocked it from an 11 down to a 10 for me.
Yeah, it's just one of those games, one of those monumental generation-defining games, in my opinion. But
because even with those very frustrating problems, I have not been able to put it down. Now I will say it has hard crashed on me a couple of times, and that was
that's
bad
unfortunate.
Enough that
did you lose save progress? Did you lose progress?
No, I never lost any progress. Now it autosaves very frequently, but
I have heard reports of crashing on PlayStation 5, but it has not happened to me yet, even once.
There was also the crashes were worst on PlayStation. I think people actually did lose some.
Yes,
progress
I heard about that, and that's unacceptable. Like I couldn't imagine.
Northern Lion had to fight Margit a second time.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, okay, so that also brings me to another point with this game. I just love how like it seems like like we talked about how it's everywhere now. But like even like streamers are going through it for the first time and having so much fun with it. You mentioned Northern Lion. It's a joy watching him play this game.
Oh, it's
like
so fun.
It's so much fun. Like
he's fighting Radon right now.
Oh, is he? I'm gonna have to go back and watch some of the highlights of today's VOD. But like. Yeah, it's just, it's crazy to me that, because, like, Dark Souls has always been popular, right? But, like, at the same time, it's kind of niche, right? But, like...
Yeah, that's why, when all my friends are, like, talking about it that don't normally play these games, I'm like, yeah. Like, one of my buddies was like, yeah, it looks really good, I want to get it, me and my wife will get it and play co-op, and I'm like, your wife doesn't really play games that much, right? Like...
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, yeah, but I think she'll really like this one. And then he bought it day one, and he's like, I'm not buying this first. She's not gonna like it.
Yeah, no, like it's very much like it is interesting because like it has gone viral, it has gone mainstream in a way Dark Souls did not, and that is attracting all sorts of new eyes. And I wonder how many of those people buy this game and they're like, oh, yeah, no, right? Like I can't handle this.
Yeah,
because like it is friendlier to new players, but like not by much, I would say. Like it is still very much a hardcore From Software experience.
Yeah.
That's
pretty much all there is to say on that front. Like it's I encourage, like, this game's incredible, and I would recommend it to anyone after a little bit of research. Like, know what you're buying.
Yeah, I do think it's really funny, like, all the finger stuff I find kind of hilarious.
Oh my god,
it's just, like, it's so, like, fixated. Like, it's weird, because, like, Bloodborne was all, like, fixated on eyes and stuff, and, like, I don't know what it is with Miyazaki's a weirdo, man.
Dude, I'm not gonna get that into it. I think Miyazaki played Hollow Knight before this game. There's an entire quest chain that is, like, very plot significant that reminds me a ton of Hollow Knight.
Really?
Yeah, and down to having a very Path of Pain style area you go through.
Oh god.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming I haven't encountered this yet.
Path of Pain. It's pretty bad, but it's not as bad as Path of Pain. It's kind of incredible, and I think you're close to where you can start it if you're
interesting.
Yeah, if you've beat Morgott.
Yeah, I was gonna keep exploring the city because the city is massive, by the way. Also, like, we got to talk about, like, one other thing, right? Like, so this game is a giant open world, right? But it, like, seamlessly blends those classic Dark Souls style levels with intricate level design into the open
these are
world.
Some of the best classic Souls levels ever, too.
It's like, basically just inserted like multiple Dark Souls games into an open world and just made it work. Like, it's
like Stormvale Castle.
Stormvale Castle, Landell, the capital as well. Even
Lindell is huge.
Even the
you don't
Academy.
Even know how big Lindell is yet. There's no way you've seen all of it.
Yeah, but definitely not. Yeah, like I know there's like a sewer area I have to check out, and like, and it's just gigantic. But also, like, the Academy, like every single area you explore.
The Academy wasn't bad. But
it was bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah, but it was underwhelming after Stormvale. Like, I was like, oh, was Stormvale, and obviously Redmane is terrible. Like, there's not even a dungeon there.
Oh, yeah, like, so that whole area is just very oppressive and mean, right? Like, it's just an angry area, you know? But, like, I don't know, I kind of like that, because, like, there's so much variety in the world, you know? Like, you keep seeing new things, right? Like, we talk about how, like, massive this game is. Like, you traverse this world, and the sights keep changing. You see more crazy, mythical, fantastical things, like, in different places.
Yeah. So,
like,
and
we granted, like... Yeah, go ahead.
We talked about how stuff doesn't scale with you. And there is one thing I wish scaled with you, which is...
the dungeons?
The dungeons. Because I still have so many to find, but I'm so strong now that, like, I want to go back and play them, but they're so boring to me at this point.
Yeah,
I mean, they're still not that boring. I still enjoy the design and everything. They were my favorite part of the game when I started, was these tiny, like, bite-sized dungeons that had
like the equivalent of, like, Zelda shrines, almost.
Yeah, and I was like, this is so much better than a Zelda shrine.
I do think the design philosophy behind all the caves and caverns and catacombs and stuff is that, like, as you play them, as you explore, you just naturally find as many as you find, and you're not going to find most of them, and that's okay. I think that's just the way it's meant to be designed. But me being me, like, I want to see the whole game. I'm actively trying to seek them out, right? And then it can get kind of old. But I think the way it's meant to be played
is go back and fight them.
I think, I definitely think the way Miyazaki intended was just like, if you happen upon them in your adventure, you can check them out. But like, that's the reason they're everywhere, right? Like, no matter what direction you go, you'll find stuff tucked away, right? But you're not necessarily meant to, like,
but there is
seek
some,
them
like,
out.
Very core stuff gated behind some of them.
Yeah, some of them have that. Like, and that's the beauty of this game. Like, it's just,
there are a few that
you
I've
never know.
wandered into thinking it was just one of these, like, tiny dungeons, and then it was
just
like
massive. Yeah.
And it was plot relevant. Like,
and another thing I will comment on, I love that none of these caves are copy pasted, right? Like, they have elements that are present in each other's. The only thing that is copy pasted are the boss rooms. And some of the bosses, like...
Yeah, I was going to say, you haven't gotten quite to it yet, but you are about to dive into... You're about to dive into a section of the game I was very ready to complain about copy-pasted bosses in the late game. Little did I know, it wasn't the late game, it was the mid-game.
Yeah.
And, like, if you're gonna copy-paste some bosses, that's the place to do it. Like,
yeah, and like, bosses are copy-pasted. Like, not, like, major bosses, obviously, but, like, some of these side bosses. And, like, there are like hundreds of bosses in this game, by the way. Like, it's crazy.
I don't think there are hundreds. I think there are 80s.
Okay, fine, Connor. Jeez.
Yeah, well, it matters. Like, there's like 80-some bosses, and I think like 77 of them are unique or something.
Yeah, which is still just staggering, right? Like, and like, a lot of the unique bosses have unique music tracks that go along with them, and like...
And they're all fun. Like, even the actually, especially some of the repeat ones were fun fights.
Yeah, and I have noticed a lot of the bosses in caves and stuff can just show up as regular enemies in the overworld later on.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
I have only run into one repeat boss that actually made me mad, and it was a kind of a lore implication issue. And I think I talked to you about that, how it might have gotten resolved, and it kind of didn't. And I just, like, I want to dig more into the area, because I was actually really into the lore of this boss the first time I saw it.
That's another really great, I guess, tangent to get into, is that, like, all of these things are meticulously placed, right? Like, everything has lore significance. Everything is intentionally placed, right? It's not just like a cave there for the sake of being a cave. Like, there's a story behind, like, why is there a cave here? What's inside the cave and why is it there? Stuff like that. You can think about all that stuff. And all of that has intention behind it, which is a wonderful thing that you don't see in a lot of other games.
I know that there's at least one Catacombs that has 2 bosses in it. 2 boss fights.
Oh, yeah. I've run into a few. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Especially...
I don't know if I've run into a few. I know I've run into one.
So...
But the bosses were kind of, I'm over-leveled, so, like...
So slight...
the boss was there, but it was a pushover.
Slight spoilers for side content for the next, like, 30 seconds or so. But I have run into many caves that have Black Knife assassins in them, in addition to regular bosses.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah. So...
I have not run into many of them. I've run into a few.
Yeah, I've run into a few. I shouldn't say many. I've run into a few.
Yeah, and I don't actually know what's going on. I don't have a side quest for Black Knife Assassins or anything, so I don't really know what's going on there.
Interesting. You might have missed that.
Actually, maybe I do. I'm not going to spoil it.
But that's, I love that. Because, like, everyone I talk to about this game is like, have you done this side quest? No. Like, it's like, there's just, like, the game is massive enough that where you can get onto a path and just see it and, like, see it through and then talk to your friends or whatever that play this game and they've never seen it and might not see it because they've done something that'll arbitrarily, like, lock them out of it. And, like, that might frustrate some people, but I think that's a great thing. Like, I think it's you really go on your own adventure when you play this game.
The coolest areas I've seen in this game so far are side quest areas. I will say that. Like, they are not skimping on them. Like,
so again, I think, I don't know, in order to have like a semi more meaty discussion, I think some light spoilers are allowed going forward.
Okay, so Shifra Riverwell is
so I'm talking about the entire
areas related to it.
The entire underground section. Yeah. Right. The first time I dropped that is a moment that's going to stick with me That's like one of those gaming moments, right? Like the first time you step into that platform, into that well, and it just drops, right?
Stepping into the platform with the well was a huge moment for me, and I was like super excited about it. But it was not as big of a moment for me as when I found a map down there.
Yeah.
And it added a button to my map screen to
I was
show
like,
the underground
oh my
map.
goodness, how deep, how
big is this game?
How big does this game get, right? Like, but like even the well dropping down, like I love these little touches because it really just shows that Miyazaki's a master, right? Like, 'cause like it dropped and then it just kept dropping and then it just kept dropping and you just was like, okay, this is abnormal. Something is about to happen here. And then when it drops to the lowest level and you just see like this open sky, like, and you're just like, what is happening? Like this, it
and
looks
you can like the visual effects there are so gorgeous because you can like see the roof of the cave past the sky, kind of.
Yeah,
and it's incredible, and like the lore behind the sky and the stars in this game.
Yeah,
is very
like it's very interesting. I don't fully understand it, but like
I love old timey space lore.
Yeah, it does have that, doesn't it? Like, and there is some sort of cosmic element to this game too, which just reinforces the idea that Miyazaki just took the aspects of all the best aspects of his previous game and just like created a magnum opus with this game. But like, as far as the underground goes, I'm still not done exploring it, which is just crazy to me, right? Like, now I'm in the area directly below Atlas, and there's an underground area there too. It's just like, it keeps going. Like, it's wonderful. Because, like, it would be one thing if it kept going and it was just like, oh my god, okay, another section of, like, repeated content or, like, rote design.
So
but it just keeps being fresh and keeps being interesting.
Honest to God, like, I think they've explored this before with, didn't Bloodborne have procedurally generated dungeons?
Yes, it did. The Chalice dungeons.
I'd be super here if Elden Ring had procedurally generated catacomb-style dungeons.
I don't know, man, like...
I'd play them. Like
the Chalice dungeons in Bloodborne were cool for like a little bit, but then they got
played any of them.
They got old.
I didn't get very far into Bloodborne.
They got old pretty quickly, in my opinion. But I am so conversely, I'm very glad in Elden Ring that all the caves and catacombs they were generated by humans, right? Like the level they were designed, which is crazy to me considering how many there are. Yeah,
like combat wise, none of them have really stopped me combat-wise, because, like, in those boss fights, if I don't beat them in the first few tries, I mark them and come back later. Mm-hmm. But, some of the, like, puzzles in there have, like, tripped me up a little bit. Just a little bit, but, enough that I'm talking about it.
Yeah, and it's just crazy that, like, it's not repeated. That's, like, the craziest part to me. Like, obviously, some elements are repeated.
They do build on each other.
Some elements are repeated. Yeah. But, like, you're never gonna see the same, like... oh, this room was in this cave and now it's in this cave. Like it's just not there. And like in every other big AAA open world game, it is like that, except for maybe Breath of the Wild, I think.
Well, yeah, that's another. This game compares to Breath of the Wild very cleanly. In like, I would say that
I think
Breath of the Wild, it has somewhat better exploration, just inherently because traversal is more fun in it.
Because of the verticality.
Yeah, the verticality, but then in Elden Ring, like, because they don't have that verticality, and this is kind of ironic, because, like, Breath of the Wild was heralded as, like, being so innovative because it didn't have this, but Elden Ring can, like, there are a few entrances to each place, and all of them are well-designed, but you can get to those entrances in fascinating ways and stuff. But I will say, like, sometimes you're just riding a horse for a while, and that's not...
I'm like totally okay. I love that. We got to talk about that too.
Not, like,
the horse in this game.
Like, a lot of people like are whining when I say that it's doing Breath of the Wild as good as Breath of the Wild, and I think that that's what that. It is true. Breath of the Wild did traversal better, but there are more enemies in Limgrave than there are in all of Hyrule.
Yeah,
like,
I think honestly, like there are aspects I believe Breath of the Wild did better than Elden Ring, but as a whole, I believe Elden Ring is superior to Breath of the Wild in almost every way.
It's the one I'll be, one I'll come back to.
It's an evolution. It took Breath of the Wild and put its own spin on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's an incredible thing to do. But just to go back to the horse for a second, like, if the horse in any way, shape, or form was tedious to control, then this, obviously, like, it would make a large chunk of the game boring. But, like, I love controlling this horse, right? Like, he's snappy,
I don't really care for platforming with
he's fast, and he can double jump. Like,
yeah.
And that's great. Like
he doesn't turn great. Like if you're on a tight like there are a couple of parts of the game that ask you to do some somewhat tight platforming on the horse, and I don't love them. They're not bad enough that I care that much.
I mean, it's not a platformer, right? But like it can do them. But like I compare this to like horseback riding in like Red Dead Redemption 2 or like even Zelda. Like it's way better than those.
No, it is not better than in Breath of the Wild.
I disagree.
Breath of the Wild's horses are the best horse in any game I've ever played, I think. Just because they like the way they kind of stick to roads and stuff so that you can just look at the scenery.
I don't know. I guess I prefer the control that this horse affords.
And then I do have one beef with just the controls in general in Elden Ring and all Souls games, is that if you want to run and move the camera at the same time, you have to claw the controller.
Yeah, that
annoys
strange.
me. I don't know what the fix for that is, other than like having a controller with back paddles, which is what I did in previous Souls games, but my Steam controller has seen better days.
But, oh gosh, I just thought of another thing regarding the horse. Another big component to this game is a new mechanic, which is like horseback combat, right? So like,
how much do you use it?
Oh, a lot. You know, like some fights it's like required. Like I feel like the dragon fights, you have to use your horse.
I used it. I do not use it against dragons. I used it against
That's
Radahn.
wild to me, man.
Well, they don't last very long against me. I do a lot. I do 1,400 damage per attack.
I think I'm getting close to that, honestly.
I would have a hard time believing it because I have Radahn's swords. That's what I'm using, and they are colossal swords, which are high damage, very slow attack.
You use two swords?
Yes.
2 colossal swords?
Yes. Because Radahn's greatsword, if you two-hand it, is 2 swords, and you get the strength bonus of holding a sword with 2 hands, and you do double damage because if both swords hit, they both do the full damage.
Interesting. Yeah, you definitely do more damage than me, but like I still do like really high damage, I feel like, because like I have like
probably like I'm like level 130. So like,
yeah, you're like 40 levels higher than me.
Yeah,
but
so
like
of course I do more damage, but
like
I
put
fully
like
upgraded.
So I put all my points into dex, and I have like a sword that scales with B scaling for strength and dex.
God, that's probably really strong then. Yeah. I really want to do a dex build next, but I also want to do a magic run because I've never played a magic run.
I know, right? Like, there's so many different ways to play this game. Like,
but I also don't have another 80 hours to dump.
I know, right? But like, it is because you can easily do like a magic warrior hybrid in this game too. Like there's several.
My buddy Tyler's been doing that, and he's been having a blast.
Like there's several weapons in the game that are statted to which like it definitely like caters to, because it like has like a strength, a dex, and an int requirement, right? Like so it's
Radahn swords. I had to
very clearly
be reborn and I had to up my int a lot, and you can use his gravity magic. That's their weapon art.
That's insane, man.
It's like a huge room clearing attack. It's so cool.
Yeah, that like the weapon arts too add such another dimension. I
think they're called Ashes of War in this game.
Right.
Yeah. I messed it up.
Yeah, the Ashes of War add another dimension to the combat in this game. Like it's
and something that we haven't even brought up. We've talked about summons, but there are ashes that you can summon that are and kind of just an enemy from the game that helps you out. And I know you're not using them a ton.
I use them. I've been using them more. Just because
I really like them, and I consider them more a spell than a summon.
Yeah,
because they're not very strong.
I agree with that. They basically just soak up a couple hits.
They make magic users viable, and what they really do for me is like if I'm really struggling with a boss, I have a skeletal bandit, and he does no damage at all, which I kind of like because that means I'm the one fighting the boss.
Yeah,
but he takes a couple hits, and he's actually decently tanky, but then he dies. And as long as I can keep the boss off of him long enough that he can get back up, he's back at a full HP bar. And that's like, it does make the bosses easier, but it's a super fun strategy for me. And it's the only way I was going to beat any of the bosses that are like 2v1. I hate that.
Oh gosh,
I hate 2v1 bosses in Souls.
Yeah, I've run into a few 2v1s so far, and they've been a handful. And I will say, as far as the summons go, I think the only rule I made for myself is not to use them on the major boss fights, but like I'm fine using them on smaller boss fights and stuff.
I always summon NPCs because I consider that the canonical fight, like because there's story reasons.
I agree with you, especially like with Radahn and stuff. Like you very clearly were supposed to.
Yeah, it's so
summon
cinematic
everyone
with Radahn too, and the summons like they don't do any damage to him. They're just like.
But like,
and honestly, they actually like at some parts they made the fight a little harder because his moveset became less predictable when he was attacking them than when he was attacking me.
I know we somehow keep ending up back at Radon in this discussion, but like, I just wanted to say,
he's a huge fight in the game.
Just leading up to Radon, like the hype was so there. Like, you know what I mean? Like they hyped this man up like to the stars, right?
He
like
a cutscene,
and there was like chanting happening and like all these warriors gathering to fight him,
potentially
like
that you've met hours before.
It's just like it was a moment, like it was a moment unlike other moments in From Software games because it was like the epic battle at the end of a story arc.
He does
very much felt like
the
that.
Ornstein and Small of this game though, but better. Like they built him up way better. But like Ornstein and Smo was like the filter in Dark Souls 1 where like, you know, you might have gotten this far, but unless you have a mastery of this game, you're not going to get past it.
Just touching on the summons again. Shout out to my jellyfish. He's been my best friend for the past 80 hours. Yeah.
The one that I hear is like super overpowered, and I don't have it. I think you needed a stone sword key, and I didn't have one at the time. I also don't know if I want to use it because it sounds a little overpowered. It's called a mimic tier, I think.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I have that one.
And it is just a second you. Like, with your weapons, it does the same amount of damage as you. And that is, especially the way I am, if I'm already dealing double damage, if that quadruples my damage, I'm not even going to get to fight these bosses in some cases.
So I started out as a not tarnished, but like depraved wretch. That's the word. So I left my intelligence or my FP meter is the same as it was when I started, right? So I have such low FP, I can't even use most of the summons I have.
Okay, you want to know the scam on that, though?
One of the medallions or whatever gives you more?
Better. Your Flask of Wondrous Physic, there is a tier that makes nothing consume FP.
No way.
You can summon whatever you want.
That's crazy. So did you finally find your flask? Because I remember you saying
find my flask. I had to look at a friend's map.
Dude, like that's the crazy thing. Like very core things in this game can be entirely missed if you just don't explore a certain area, which is just hilarious.
My buddy Antonio never talked to Santa at the beginning of the game. He never got his crafting kit.
Yeah, that's
and like crafting. I don't use crafting hardly at all.
So I use it like later in the game. You get afflicted with like various status ailments, and they can be very annoying. So like I
haven't found anything to fix those.
Okay, you didn't find the recipes, right? So I have recipes to craft things that cures like Scarlet Rot and like
oh my god
poison.
Yeah, I haven't found that yet. So when I get Scarlet
that must be miserable, man.
No, it hasn't been that bad. Like I got like 13 flasks, so and they're all HP because I don't use FP.
Exactly, I don't have any FP flasks either.
I can tank it out. You know, it hasn't been that bad. There is one area that I've run into where it was like pretty touch and go, but I made it. I made it to the next set race. It's never killed me, I don't think. Every
time I come across like a poison area in this game, I'm just like, you. It's like you and your poison swamps.
You did it again.
It's just like that man does have a love for poison swamps that I will never understand.
The fact that there's one in the very like the second building in the game has a secret poison swamp.
Yeah, it's just
that I have not gone to, but.
I mean, so like even like right when you come out of the tutorial, like did you explore? Because there was like a stone sword key gate there.
Yeah, I did not have a stone sword key, so I didn't get to explore that.
Yeah,
and I've not gone back.
Like right out of the gate, there's just stuff everywhere, like stuff that you could easily miss, and it's just. I know, like the intention is probably for most people to like miss this stuff and only to like happen upon it, to like chance upon it, and then have that be like a moment for you. But like. I just want to see it all, man.
Stone sword gates in particular, I am of one mind about a stone sword key. If I have one, I'm gonna spend it at the first opportunity.
Right? Yeah. Like because you don't know, right? Like how would you know to save it? You know, like you don't know what's behind that gate. But like,
and this is very much like even I think I needed a guide on Dark Souls. I think I got confused at one point and couldn't progress without a guide. That has not happened to me in Elden Ring a single time.
Yeah, I do want to say like I think I actually made a friend playing this game. It was a mutual friend, and he's I think way further than me. I think he's like 120 hours in, and he claims he's like lost right now I have no like I don't want to ask where he is because it would probably be a spoiler for me, but it's just crazy to be that like this game just seemingly never ends. And
you see, I don't know how you could get lost in this game because there are quite literally waypoints to follow to the major bosses.
Yeah,
like,
I agree with that, but
so I don't know how he got lost unless he like doesn't know which bosses he's done, which is possible.
Yeah, I didn't want to ask for too many details because I feel like I don't want to know.
It's a spoiler-rich conversation.
Yeah, but like,
and he might be trying to get like one of the other endings or something.
Yeah, that's another thing to be like. I can't even because like all Souls games have multiple endings, so I assume this is no different. But
I have found evidence. I forget if it was 3. I've done all of them, by the way. Everything I've seen that like made me think it was going to change the ending, I've been like, well, of course I'm going to do that. And
you've done all the triggers or whatever. Okay.
I've done 3. Yeah, so I'm like, I feel like when I get to the ending, my game is just going to crash.
like all 3 happen at once.
All of them. Whoops.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe one supersedes the other or something, but like...
Yeah, it's hard to say. Or maybe I get to choose because I've done all the stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Only
I
one
think
of them has been like really, really cool to me.
I think very clearly I've done at least one side quest chain that will likely have an impact on the ending, but I can't know for sure. Like, I just don't know.
Is it the underground? Well, no.
I was talking about like Ranny and the underground stuff.
Okay, that's one. That's the one I'm kind of iffy on. The other 2, they like say like, "Will you be the Lord that does this?" And I'm like,
oh shoot,
yeah, I will.
That's a loaded question. Okay,
yeah, absolutely, sure, why not? I have every intention.
That's funny. I would actually have to think about it because, like, you never know in these games. Like, you could saying like, yes or no could like block off.
I thought was going to end the game early.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I would in that situation. I would probably look it up because I'd have to.
I looked it up to see if it would end the game early.
Yeah,
but I was like, man, this is really cool. I kind of want to do it.
Yeah, like I mean, I came across another one of those choices. It's probably not as big, but just spoilers, just in case. Volcano Manor agreeing to join and like hunt other people down.
I thought that was going to significantly change my game. I only did one of the hunts though.
I've killed every single person they asked me to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you found the rest of the manor? Like,
I know where to go. Like, I actually, so I had like, it's weird because I have like plans in Elden Ring, man. Like, because like last night, all right, I sat down at what, like, it was like 8, I think, 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, I'm going to do the capital right now. And I got so distracted.
You probably did it until 4 a.m.
I got so distracted by just areas in the Atlas Plateau, like finding caves and other nonsense.
Oh, you didn't even go into the capital.
Yeah, okay. I got so distracted by that stuff. I didn't even get to the capital until like 2 a.m.
I was going to say, you could spend that long in the capital.
Yeah, and then I think I just happened to beeline it right towards... you know, the critical path of the capital, because
the critical path of the capital was actually, I had no idea where I was going.
I didn't think it was obvious, but I was just like, oh, like a giant tree branch, let me climb that, and then it just happened to be where I needed to go. But I know of so many other nooks and crannies in the capital that I haven't explored yet, so I'm looking forward to...
The capital's been one of the few places that I've been like, I'm gonna drop some messages down, because this is, like, I don't want people to miss this, and...
Also, that's another whole thing we can talk about. The memes and the messages are so funny, man. Like,
some of them are a little lewd. I don't know if we want to get into that.
Yeah, but it's just like
have been really funny.
It's so
my
funny.
favorite one I've seen is
all the maidenless ones. All the
the one I saw. There was a dude sitting on the side of a bridge, and it said, "Why no
lover?
Why no or no? Still no love. Why is it always friend?"
I love it, man. It's so funny.
My most popular one has been... Well, no, my very most popular one was in Stormvale, and I think it's only popular because that's when people are still appraising like every message they find. Yeah. But it was just like mushroom ahead. And
that's pretty lame.
But the funny one I've had that has done the best was just like, be wary of death. By the way, try life.
Yeah. I don't know, like... It's just so, like, I love how, like, you can just write these dumb things in broken English and just, like, it's
I did find an illusory wall that no one had marked yet. At least, you know, I'm sure people had marked it, but I didn't have a message on the ground, and I found it, and I was like, oh my god.
That's crazy.
The dopamine. And I put a message down, and I've got a lot of appraisals on it.
Yeah, like, that's...
Not as many as the dumb meme, though.
That's one thing about From Software games. It's just conditioned me to like hit most suspicious looking walls I come across. You know, like, and obviously like 95% of them are. Walls. No, that's what I'm saying. I hit all the the walls that I deem suspicious, right? And 95% of them are just walls. But like, ever since in Dark Souls 1, I found Ash Lake, I never looked at walls the same way again. You know, like I have to hit all of them.
there are some Ash Lake tier, actually better than Ash Lake tier illusory walls in this game.
Wow.
Well, sort of illusory. They're false walls that you have to get through.
Yeah, I don't think I've found those yet, but that's very intriguing.
I am almost certain you will, because I think it's part of a quest chain. So
yeah, that's one thing that's worrying me, because like I feel like
you've not missed it. You have not reached the trigger.
Well, no, I feel like I don't know, like ever since entering Atlas, I haven't really been doing any side quest chains aside from Volcano
That's what
Manor.
happened to me. Yeah, so like I got into I thought it was Altus, but I'm not really sure. But once I got there, I kind of beelined it to the city, and I was thinking like, man, there's a lot less side stuff to do through here. But I think it was actually just I kind of got fatigued with doing side stuff and started focusing on the main story. There is definitely less stuff in Altus Plateau than Limgrave.
There's less stuff, but I mean, there's still a lot of stuff, man. I spent like several hours just exploring.
Some of it's like kind of lame though. Like, have you seen the city full of, or not the city, the town full of dancing people?
Yeah, that was weird, man.
I thought it was just fine. Like
I thought so. I went and like completed that, and I thought that might tie into a side quest that I just missed earlier or something. But like, I don't know yet.
Maybe, but for me, I just went and killed the boss.
But yeah, like it's just like but there's other stuff. Like even like I was just like wandering around Atlas Plateau, and like there was this area where lightning was coming down. I decided to check it out, and then this giant Elden four-winged dragon that like wielded red lightning came down and just like destroyed me. And I was just like, well,
yep. I forget its name, but its description said brother of Smarag, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I know who Smarag is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's so hard for me to follow the lore in this game, man. But like I mean, like it is more accessible, but it's still like, what is happening? You know, like that's what
I honestly I don't think I'm gonna be that shocked. I have read a lot of item descriptions in this game. I've been keeping up with it and stuff.
I've been reading quite a few.
I don't think Vati is gonna hit me with any like mean right hooks, you know. I don't think I'm gonna be taken off guard, but I'm definitely gonna watch the videos. I'm referencing Vati Vidya, a YouTuber that covers Souls lore.
Oh yeah, he's the best, man. Like if you have any interest,
extremely good. Yeah,
but like it is funny because like the concept of like having plans for Elden Ring. Like tonight, I want to explore the rest of the capital, fight the Dung Eater because I know he's there. Which by the way, FromSoftware is so weird, right? Like the opening cutscene. Where like you have this very serious man saying the loathsome dung eater, and I was just like, all right.
And Fia, who is like just chill, and like,
well, is she just chill?
Complicated.
Yeah, like I thought she was just chill, but JK maybe not. You know, like
she does have. Yeah, she has a quest line.
I mean, she's kind of MIA.
Complete that quest line, by the way. Do all of it.
I mean, right now she's MIA for me. Like, I don't know if that's the end of the quest line.
But. Okay, she's probably not. This happened to me too, and I'm just going to give you a hint. She's in a different room in the hold.
Oh no, I found her, and then she was like,
that is where I got stuck.
She was just like, peace, dude, and then she just kind of like vanished.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you might need a hint on that one. It's a very subtle thing you have to find. It is where you think it is, but it's kind of subtle.
Okay, maybe after the episode you can give me a hint.
Yeah, I could give you a hint.
But so my plan tonight, fight the Dung Eater, explore the rest of the capital, and then go to Volcano Manor and maybe try to fight Raydal or whatever his name is. I
believe it's Rykard.
Rykard, you're right on.
I don't know if I still need to go fight him. I haven't found the weapon that they talk about there.
Yeah, the spear used to kill. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but
yeah, so I don't really know what's going on there yet.
Yeah, that's I don't know. Like, dude, that could be a whole new like.
It's a huge area that's completely optional. Yeah,
that's crazy. Man.
I'm in an area right now called the Halig Tree, and like I feel like there has to be some insane lore around it because like the Erd Tree is like the focus of the game,
right?
And stuff, and like getting to the Halig Tree was an ordeal, but I really don't know yet. Like maybe once I kill the boss, I'll get some what's the word I'm looking for?
Insight.
Yeah, some insight. Yeah, but right now and that insight is what I'm hoping makes me like that boss repeat a little more.
Okay.
Because it was in the same area. It wasn't a core boss.
So another thing, I guess, kind of lore spoilers. Like Morgott is Margit, right? He was the first boss you fought.
Yeah, and I thought that was nuts.
Yeah, but he was just like this was his true power or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, but I do not know the lore, the story behind that though, and I would be very interested to find out.
My other problem is that was he the other dude too?
The Grafted? No, that was someone else.
No, not the Grafted. The dude in the castle. Because, like, I don't know if you ran into this, but when you're running up to the city, there's a dude who looks like the guy.
Yeah, you're right. No, I thought it was just the first boss again. But, like, at that point, you're so much stronger, it's just like an enemy. That's kind of the vibe I got. But, like, he had the same exact moveset.
That's not just Margit. That's a dude transforms into Margit. And the dude looks like the guy who tricks you in Stormveil Castle.
Huh.
And I don't know, you don't get anything from that fight. So
yeah, gosh, who knows how many layers of secrets there actually are at play here, Like, it'll take people time to, like, uncover and, like, understand everything about this game. But
it's nuts. It's so good.
I mean, like, yeah, I can't wait to go back and play. Like, that's all I can say. Like, once this period of time is over, right? Like, however long it takes me, like 100 hours, 120 hours, whatever. I don't know what I'm going to do, man. Like, I feel like I just don't know what to play after that.
Now because I'm a little fatigued with it and I don't want to, like, burn out. So I've been looking to play other games.
Okay.
But I'm, like, seriously struggling to sit down and play another game
because like, I was playing Horizon Forbidden West before Elden Ring, and don't get me wrong,
it's going to be a hard game to go back to.
Horizon Forbidden West was an excellent game. I put 42 hours into that game in 1 week. I loved that game. Haven't even picked it up once since Elden Ring came out. Right?
And I feel like it's like a Breath of the Wild situation where any previous open world is going to be hard to go back to, I think.
I think it will be hard to go back to, but I think the reason I will go back to it and still enjoy it is because I enjoy the story in that game so much.
Yeah.
But, like, the actual open world design, it's going to pale in comparison to what we've been introduced to now. Like, and it just happened again, man. Like Breath of the Wild did, like, 4 or 5 years ago or whatever. Like
2017. Yeah.
2017.
5 years ago.
5 years ago. It's another game has come out that has raised the bar, in my opinion, and is the new standard.
Yeah.
So, and, like, I told you this. I think I told both of you this in the chat earlier. Like, it's already in contention. I don't want to say it is, right? Because I need to finish it and think about it and let it gestate for a while. But, like, it's in contention for my favorite game I've ever played.
Yeah, I'm in a weird spot because I don't give out a 10 out of 10 a lot. I don't even know if I would give Outer Wilds a 10 out of 10. But Elden Ring has not replaced Outer Wilds as my favorite game.
That's
because
fair.
it doesn't appeal to me on as personal a level as Outer Wilds. But I think Elden Ring, weirdly enough, is less niche than Outer Wilds is.
I think I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, because Outer Wilds is it's a thinky game, and not everybody wants a thinky game. Some people just want to do what I do in Elden Ring and just swing giant swords around the whole time.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, like, I have thought a lot in Elden Ring, but you don't have to. You can just go place to place and, get good.
But yeah, it's an incredibly special game. Can't wait to play it some more tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to, but I probably will.
You will. Yeah, so I don't really have any other games I was playing. Like, I've only been playing Elden Ring, and we just talked about it for an hour, so...
Yeah, I figure Mike wants to say some things.
Yeah, Mike.
Oh my god. I actually turned my mic off, like, 40 minutes ago.
I'm sorry, this just had to happen.
It had to happen, yeah.
I know you didn't play the game, but I could not talk about Elden Ring for an hour. I wanted to do it last week, but I also wanted to play Elden Ring.
Also, I peaked my audio there for a little bit.
So apologies. Yeah, there was supposed to be an episode last week, and it's actually my fault, right? Connor, you tried to convince me to do it, but I was just like, nope, I'm going to play Elden Ring. We're not recording today, so...
I chilled.
That's
I think
on me.
No, I think I beat Ace Combat 0 the week before that. But I played Ace Combat 0, and I want to talk about it because it was hard.
Yeah,
game was actually difficult. I was surprised.
Finally, we're going to talk about a hard game.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm Zero
sure
actually got legitimately difficult towards the end. Because for all the PS2 games,
are they
the only
not
difficult...
hard?
4 was pretty easy. 2 was difficult because I'd find myself running out of ammo way too often. 0 was just hard towards the end.
Running out of ammo in games.
Like, the final 3 missions are absolutely brutal. Especially the final 2, because they're one after another, and one ends in a duel.
So this was like... 0 was like the last one of the acclaimed, like, 3 that you have to
Trinity,
play, right?
Yeah.
So was it your favorite, or, like, what do you think?
Honestly, I did like the morality system they had. Because it was determined by what you did in missions, and if you destroyed enough yellow targets, it affect your morality in some way.
Oh, okay.
I didn't, but it also affected, like, what bosses you'd face. So I allegedly took the easy route by going Knight, which is the good alignment. It wasn't that easy. It wasn't that easy at all.
So okay. So like that's crazy. Like, so why is it called Knight, right? Because you're in a plane, right? Like it's just the class of aircraft or something?
No, it's the 3 alignments are mercenary, soldier, and knight.
Oh, this is like a moral alignment.
Yeah, it's the moral alignment.
Got it.
That's just your ace style. That's what they call it. It's the only Zero was the only game I think that had the morality system, and it brought back like the basic dialogue system and wingman commands from the previous game as well, which I forgot to mention. But the final tunnel run mission actually has you flying inside a dam, and you have to make turns inside said dam.
That's nuts.
It's absolutely insanely difficult. That's the first time I used save states, my second run through the mission. Because if I quit out on the second half, or the final mission, I have to play through the second to last mission as well. So I save stated it so I didn't have to make the run through the canyon again, because that part was just that difficult.
Yeah, I'll never blame anybody for save stating in any game, honestly.
I made it through every single game except for Zero without using a single save state.
I don't save state in minigames. Some older games that have like what I would call an antiquated life system, I will save state through. Like what you were saying, where you didn't want to do that whole mission again. I would save state there for sure.
Like I just got so good at doing that first canyon run that it was trivial and it just wasted my time.
Yeah.
Like I didn't die there, so why would I need to keep doing it over and over again?
Yeah, for sure. I'll say it. I save state in Castlevania, and it's one of my favorite games. But I also am not somebody who prides myself in being a good gamer. I mean, I like overcoming skill challenges sometimes, but it does not contribute to my self-esteem.
Yeah, what was interesting about Zero is the final boss of Zero requires you to attack him head-on, which required me unlearning everything I knew about Ace Combat up to that point.
Love stuff like that.
Because normally,
really
that's very similarly.
You have to
like,
joust him.
I mentioned earlier in the episode, the Demon of Hatred in Sekiro. That was very much the same thing, right? Where like all the skills you learned in Sekiro are thrown out the window with this thing.
Like I had gotten so used to trailing behind jets and just like firing missiles at them that the final boss just saying, "Nah, that doesn't work anymore."
That's awesome.
Completely threw me off.
No, I love subversive final bosses. I think they're very cool.
It was a very cinematic boss, and there's a Spanish flamenco guitar going throughout all of it too.
Nice.
So it's absolutely insane. Like the soundtrack for Zero, I think, is so cool.
Which had the best soundtrack?
I'm torn. 5 had the best. Zero had a pretty decent soundtrack, but I think 5 had the best overall. But overall, I think 7. 7's soundtrack was on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, Zero is a lot more depressing and full of war crimes than the other 3 games that I played. Well, you don't commit any war crimes, at least voluntarily. You watch war crimes being committed.
Yeah.
Like 7 nuclear detonations. War crimes.
I'll hold off, but I have a war crime topic I want to talk about when you're done.
Oh no.
It's a minor one, but it sucks.
Yeah, it's because Zero is the prequel to 5, pretty much.
Yeah, which is wild. What is with that numbering? They could have called it 4.5.
It's like I don't know. I don't know what it is with like Japanese-made games and like weird numberings. For
4
the
actually
only one's brave enough to give you a game that is like Ace Combat 7, like
right, yeah.
Mortal Kombat 10.
The audacity to put like
Mortal Kombat's Western, isn't it?
Yeah, Mortal Kombat is Western.
Yeah,
no,
like Final Fantasy 16. Like a casual person sees that and is like, "What?"
And the fact that they don't have a separate naming convention for their MMOs—that's nuts to me. Final Fantasy 11 and 14 are just, those are massive.
Those are MMOs, yeah. No, the Ace Combat chronology is a little weird because I think 4 takes place after 5.
Is Ace Combat Capcom?
Ace Combat is Bandai Namco? Yeah, Bandai Namco.
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it seems like they're taking a page out of Kojima's book for naming sequels. Like
they did it before Kojima, actually.
Ah, okay.
They inspired the man.
Yes. Kojima. When did the first Metal Gear Solid game come out?
1996.
1998.
Okay, I was gonna say 7. It was close enough.
And he didn't start doing weird numbering until Metal Gear Solid 3.
Right, because 2 was actually a sequel to 1, but then 3 was a prequel,
sequel.
and then
Yeah.
4 was a sequel to 2, and then 5 was like a sequel.
5 was a sequel to 3.
3, yeah.
Didn't make any sense.
I love it.
No, Ace Combat didn't do that. They made a promise that every Ace Combat after 3 would be a lead up to 3. So it's fairly linear past that.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's
so 3 is the conclusion of the story, but they just keep.
I don't think it's the conclusion. It's just.
Well, they said every future game would be a lead up to it.
Yeah, because the universe didn't exactly explain how you got to AIs and computers.
Okay.
So it's like the most in the future, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's the furthest in the future. 7, I think, is close, but 3 is very much up there.
That is not what I realized. I didn't realize what you meant.
Yeah, they're just filling the world in, because I think 3 was the first Strange Row game.
So what's next for you? I assume. So you still have more Ace Combat games to play, right?
I do, but
you're kind of burning through them. Didn't you want to play through them all this year? And it's like March. And
I didn't expect to take that short. They're just so good. I still have the first 3 that I could play through. I know 3 itself is a beast, and I have to use the Japanese translation for it because the Western release is not the same game at all.
Oh, weird.
Jeez.
Yeah, no,
I hate that.
They cut out like that,
I think.
Yeah, they cut out like 75% of the game for the Western release.
Oh, it wasn't that bad with Nier. Nier just.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely gutted. So there's a fan made translation for it that I have to get.
That's cool. I wonder why they did that. There are a couple. There's a series on YouTube I would recommend called "Where the West Was Worse." That's pretty good. It's by Stop Skeletons from Fighting, and that's just a very good channel. And props to Derek for being open about a celiac disease.
Yeah, I think Ace Combat 3 in Japan had 56 missions with branching storylines.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah. They just make weird changes sometimes. Like when they brought Nier West, they changed the main character from being helping his sister to helping his daughter. And they made him like an adult. And it like totally changes the tone of the story.
Which is, it's weird to look back at Ace Combat now because Ace Combat's audience is predominantly Western now.
Yeah, I don't really
Really?
Oh yeah, even like even like a lot of Japanese players will play with the English dubs because the dubs are that high quality.
I'm super fascinated with the stuff like Monster Hunter that I really like. That is like predominantly a Japanese franchise and is kind of becoming Western right now. That always fascinates me.
Yeah, like a lot of Japanese properties are like breaking into the West for the first time in recent years, right? Like I would argue even Persona really became mainstream in the West with Persona 5.
Yes, I agree. The moment they release a crossplay Monster Hunter is going to be like a game changer for me, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like with Monster Hunter, they're on the precipice of something insanely mainstream.
I agree. They are so close with World, and I hear they got even closer with Rise, but I didn't play it because it was on Switch.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like my Switch, but I really liked Monster Hunter World for a lot of reasons, and they kind of destroyed all of them by putting Rise on the Switch. So, you have any more comments on Ace Combat, or can I say my sad thing?
I'm gonna have to play Ace Combat 6 at some point, but that's gonna be rough.
That's the one you need.
That's the Xbox 360 one. Yeah.
Surely you can borrow a 360 from somebody.
I'll have to find a copy of the game too.
Yeah.
Or an Xbox One, right? Back compat?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're borrowing, yeah.
But yeah, Connor, what were you gonna say?
Because of the events happening in Ukraine right now, Nintendo, I just read this before we recorded, Nintendo decided to delay the release of Advance Wars Reboot Camp or whatever, which makes sense for a lot of reasons. One, the opening, like the inciting event in the first Advance Wars I read was their Russia analog invading a neighboring country.
Oh man, yeah,
and sparking a war.
That's an apt decision.
The original Advance Wars was delayed because of 9/11.
Oh yeah. Wow!
So there is precedent for this.
It's just
That's
as
crazy,
bad. It's just as bad as Horizon.
So it kind of sucks, but like it's not a game I was like chomping at the bit to play. I am probably going to get it and play it. I really like Wargroove, and Wargroove is inspired by Advance Wars.
Yeah.
So. I just thought I'd toss in a little gaming news this week since we're kind of a little behind.
Yeah. And I mean, just to lightly touch on it, I guess, because we're towards the end of this episode, gaming companies are imposing, restrictions on Russia, right? They're like Microsoft is like pulling stuff from Russian storefronts, and like so is CD Projekt Red and stuff like that.
Stalker 2 actually stopped development.
Well, yeah, they're out of Ukraine, aren't they?
They're a Ukrainian studio.
Yeah,
they had.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess
bigger things to worry about.
Yeah. I guess it needs to be said, but like, yeah, best of luck to the people of Ukraine. Like, that's
for sure. Yeah,
a horrible thing you're dealing with.
Yeah, the Ukrainian propaganda would have me think it's going well. I don't know what to believe, but I hope it's going well. For them.
But
on that note, I guess we're done, right? Like, I'm assuming you don't have another game, Connor or Mike.
No,
I do have another. I've been playing through Mass Effect again.
Oh, nice.
Well, feel free if you want to talk about it.
Finally getting through the Legendary Edition, and I'm liking all the quality of life changes they made for it.
The Legendary Edition is so great, especially. You're talking Mass Effect 1?
Mass Effect 1. Haven't touched
the improvements in Mass Effect 1 are staggering, right? Like, they changed a lot of the really bad stuff about that game. Like,
all
the shooting
feel good.
Yeah, the shooting is a lot better. The Mako is a lot better. It's just a lot less janky than the original. Yeah.
I mean, the dialogue.
I was actually
janky.
eyeing that, thinking about starting it right before Elden Ring came out.
I'm not
it's on Game Pass now.
I'm not gonna lie to you. While I was streaming it, the Liara romance dialogue, where you start the romance, is so cheesy.
I mean,
it is. It's kind of embarrassing, in like a goofy way.
I mean,
it's like a bunch of like teenagers trying to get along with each other. It's
I do feel that, like, I feel like most of the romance scenes were awkward, right? Like, I feel like, I don't know. It's especially in like Mass Effect. I mean, all of them really, like Mass Effect 2 as well. Like, I remember like Mass Effect 2, one thing they changed from Mass Effect 2 from the original was that like all of those, let's say, lingering camera shots on Miranda are no longer there.
That's a shame.
I don't know if you knew about that, Mike.
I know. I'm in touch with a lot of the mod community because of the speedrunning. And the same mod creator who got rid of those shots in the original trilogy made a mod to add them back.
That's
what an absolute
really the Thanos of Mass Effect modding.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
What a hero.
So are you planning on playing the whole trilogy, or?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm gonna end up playing through it on stream.
Yeah, those are
fun to play. Mass Effect 3 still for you? I mean, I guess I still enjoy Super Mario 64 after speedrunning it, but I did not speedrun it nearly as long as you did Mass Effect 3.
There is a difference between casual run-throughs and speedrunning.
That makes sense, yeah.
Like, a huge difference, because I've never touched any of the side content.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of game that I haven't played over and over again.
Yeah, after, like, I got the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and I completely beat 1. Like, I platinumed 1, and I got, like, 2/3 of the way through 2, and then I got distracted. But I definitely intend to go back, right? Like, I want to finish my replay of the Mass Effect trilogy. I love those games.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've played through Mass Effect 1 at least 30 times.
I don't think I ever even touched any of the DLC in Mass Effect 3, so that'll be all new stuff for me when I get there.
Oh, good. All that DLC is good. So
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
You know what I've been thinking about replaying? And I think I might do it tomorrow because it's Mario Day. March 10th, Mario. As Bowser's Fury. That's just like... I was talking about it with a friend because a bunch of Mario games are on sale right now, and I was trying to convince her to get Bowser's Fury. Well, 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. That game is just immaculate. I've been thinking about it a lot lately.
It's been occupying a lot of your brain space.
Yeah, it's like the best 3D Mario, and like not a ton of people played it, I don't think, like compared to Odyssey or 3D World.
Yeah, I mean, just no, I didn't. Just the way it was presented, it was not like really shoved in front of people, right? It was like an attachment to like a remastered game, right?
I was hesitant to say it at the time, but looking back, I think it is far and away the best 3D Mario.
That's crazy, man.
Like, it loses a little on presentation because the worlds are not as rich as Odyssey, but it's so fun. And it is only like 5 hours long.
Yeah, one of these days, man.
Yeah,
one of these days.
I mean, I guess you're probably not going to be able to peel yourself away from Elden Ring tomorrow, but I might for Mario Day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty committed to Elden Ring at this point. I'm going to play that thing until there is no more Elden Ring to play.
Yeah. Like, you're gonna get that platinum. I think that the platinum is very attainable in Elden Ring as
Yeah,
well.
well, I mean, obviously, like most of them, the achievements are hidden, and I don't want to
I think all
unhide
the
them.
hidden achievements are bosses.
Yeah, I don't want to unhide them just in case. But like the only ones that give me some pause are like collect all weapons, collect all sorceries, you know, like all of those.
Collect all. Well, it's not all weapons. It's all great weapons, I think.
Right.
Which like you can do without doing a second playthrough, I think, because of the mausoleums.
Which is really cool, right? Like, cause like you couldn't really you couldn't really platinum Dark Souls games the first playthrough. Like you always had to replay at least once or maybe even twice for it to even be possible.
This one is if they're ending achievements,
right?
That would be kind of scummy.
I mean, there were in older games, so
yeah,
we'll see. And I don't want to look it up, so
yeah,
it will be a mystery.
I have a rule in games: if I get one of the harder endings, I will watch the others on YouTube because I'm not going to play through a game.
Yeah, like you're going to play another playthrough of this 100-hour game because that's the thing.
I don't think I could squeeze more than 30 hours out of a second playthrough. Not really. Like,
so that I mean that's
a new game plus would be like somewhere between 10 and 30 hours for me.
So yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like when I finish Elden Ring, I'm just going to let it sit for a long time because I feel like I don't know. Like
I don't know that I'm going to do that because there are other builds I want to play.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I could go either way, honestly. But like that's how I'm feeling right now. But like obviously, when I finish, it might be just like okay, I'm not ready to be done yet, and just start a new character. But
it
or a new game
how
plus.
Close we are to Kirby coming out when I finish it because I am going to play.
That's coming soon. Yeah,
I forget if that's March or April. I think it's April.
Yeah, Kirby of the Wild.
Yeah, no, it's not an open world game. I don't know if you've watched any of it. It's just a 3D platformer.
Yeah,
sort of like 3D World.
Yeah, I know. I just kind of like making that joke because
a lot of people I've seen did think it was going to be open world, and I don't want anybody being disappointed because it's going to be a fun game.
It's going to be a Kirby game.
I don't know if open world Kirby really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could make sense if the right people thought of the design, but like it hasn't been done yet. So,
I mean, Kirby can fly. It's hard to make interesting traversal for a character that can fly like that. Look at Saints Row 4.
All right, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you all for listening. You can follow us at @podcast Game Talk on Twitter. Please like, rate, and review us on any podcast service you use, including Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, etc. Please click the link in the description of this podcast to join our Discord and talk to us there. Thank you, Connor and Mike.
Yes, see you guys next week.